I think there's so much power in representation, especially with some of these like self-care places that you go to. Like how many studios do you go to and like you don't see yourself represented? So I feel like we started with that really early on and it grew from there. We even had therapists telling people like, hey, just so you guys know, like I'm recommending my clients to go to your group because of this, I guess, loneliness epidemic that people talk about, or other people just wanting to find community in a new city.
That was Alexis Mendias, co-founder of City Señoras. And this is Making It Here, a podcast by Epicenter NYC, where we spotlight the real stories behind entrepreneurs, artists, creators, and business leaders forging their own path. Every week, we dive into the hustle, the setbacks, the small wins that make the big picture possible. And every guest will have something to teach us, because making it here isn't easy. City Señoras started as two friends looking for connection. A walk in the park, a cup of coffee, a space to slow down. But what began as a small gathering in Brooklyn has since grown into a self-care social club spanning New York and Los Angeles. Co-founders Alexis Mendias and Jaqueline Padilla have built something special. A place where women, especially Latinas and women of color, can show up fully as themselves. Their meetups, often featuring movement, journaling, or just meaningful conversation, have drawn crowds of over 80 people, all searching for the same thing: belonging. Today, I sit down with Alexis and Jaqueline to learn more about what it takes to build a community from scratch and the lessons they've learned from balancing growth with intention. Let's jump in.
Jaqueline Padilla, co-founder of City Señoras.
And Alexis Mendias, other co-founder of City Señoras.
What is City Señoras for the uninitiated?
City Señoras is a self-care social club that helps members in different cities, currently right now, New York and Los Angeles, get out of their comfort zone and step into community through self-care events.
If you could take us back to when you first met, you met in Brooklyn, right, as roommates. Where were you each moving from, and what were those first weeks and months in New York City like for you?
I was moving from Los Angeles to New York, and I was like, it's now or never kind of a thing. I've always wanted to live there, so made my way over to Brooklyn and found a place that was like really nice, and it came with 3 other roommates, which was a totally new experience. And then the first year or so, you're trying to make friends as an adult, which is not the easiest thing. And then around October-ish, we had one of the roommates move out, and so we had a vacancy in the apartment. Now I'll pass it over to Jackie.
Yeah, so I had moved back to California. I was in Madrid for a year and my visa was expiring. So looking for job opportunities. I wanted to live in New York. I found a job and basically had to move to the city within 2 weeks. So I was searching for an apartment, was browsing Facebook Marketplace, and I found the listing of Alexis's apartment for a sublet. So I applied, and I remember we had 2 Zoom calls maybe, and I was like, guys, I really want this apartment. Am I in or am I out? And that's kind of how the story of how we became roommates.
What was it about New York that drew both of you guys here? And why do you think it's difficult to make friends when you're talking about one of the most diverse cities in the country?
I was coming from a suburb in LA. The people around me were starting families or just older. And I was just I want to be around people my age. I just want a different energy. But also with that, moving there, some people already have their people set up. There's other people moving in, and sometimes you meet them, sometimes you don't. And I think that's what also happened with Jackie. She had moved in. We went out that first night that she moved in. It was so awesome. And we just wanted to keep meeting people.
Yeah. And when you see everyone, that's when you started gathering as part of City Señoras.
Alexis and I, we hit it off immediately, and we had a very nice bonding first night in the apartment. And I think I don't know, time kind of went on. So when I moved to New York, I didn't know anyone. I moved out here for the job. And yeah, so over time, just attending different events and meeting people, but it was mostly like going out or networking events. And Alexis and I, we were chatting in the kitchen and it was just like, oh man, like, I don't know, I kind of miss like my walks with my primas. Like, or I see other Latinas too. We both see other Latinas. Like, how do I find my people? And that's the evolution of how City Señora started.
You've also, I believe Alexis has mentioned in the past, how you both grew up seeing a lot of these señora activities and women in your family. If you could talk about what you grew up seeing, both in terms of women in your family finding joy or relaxation in certain activities, and also anything that you saw that you wanted to do differently.
I feel like for me, I definitely saw even making coffee like super slow in the morning, like that being sacred time to connect with yourself before like giving to others. I see even like dancing like on the weekend, like while you're cleaning as like a form of like expression and self-care. And so with City Señoras, we did want to meet like other Latinos in the neighborhood and beyond, but we also wanted it to be around like self-care activities that could bring everyone together. In like a place like New York, you can just be like so go, 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 that we wanted the things that we did to gather together be a little bit slower and intentional for people to connect.
If you could take me a little bit through the timeline when you conceived the idea for City Señoras, when your first meeting was, and what those next few meetings where you had a couple or just a lot more people.
Jackie had been like moved in for a while and like we were hanging out. It was so fun. And we're like, wouldn't it just be nice to like be friends with other people in the neighborhood who also just like want to go for a walk? Like I would love, love, love walking through McCarran after work. I love a green space. I love like a third space. And so we were like, yeah, we're like, oh, let's like put a group together. We'll see like who finds us. And so the first event that we ever did was Loteria in the Park. And we like to joke that two awesome people came and joined us. But we still wanted to promote it. So we kind of made like a photo shoot out of it. And we're like, okay. We're here. Like, let's just like show people what it could look like if they were to join us. And so we posted that after. And then the second event was a trivia night at a woman-owned brewery. And we got a few more people.
And this was a couple weeks later, or?
This was, I believe, like maybe 2 weeks later. And then the following month, we did our first Cafecito and City Señora walk in the park. We were just getting a ton of like RSVPs. And I was just like, if everyone shows up, that'll be huge. But, you know, I'm going to mentally prepare for like 10. And then we had like 80 girls pull up to this coffee shop. They were like, City Señoras, is this for City Señoras? And we're just like, oh my gosh, it's happening. They found us. We found them. Like, we did it. So that was like a just super fulfilling moment for like the vision that we had.
What kept you motivated? Like, what kept you from giving up and kind of trying to involve more people?
I think it's just it's like some conversations that we've had with other people because there's definitely a need for it. And we already started posting on social media and we were receiving responses and messages about how cool it is or how cool it'd be to go to one of these events. And so that sort of fueled like, okay, so people are craving community. Let's just see where else this can take us. And then we had that first walk in the park that just blew us away.
And what do you think it was about the next few events that got so much turnout?
Like our bread and butter is the walk, the cafecito and walk. I think because again, like it's already part of what we do. It's already part of like our culture. Like you start off the day with some coffee and then you go for a walk after, or maybe that was like a new self-care ritual that you yourself started. And like we said earlier, like we saw other people like us in the city doing the same thing. So I think what made it successful is other people also realizing like there's other people like me. This is where we can find them.
And from the first event to the second and third event, y'all were posting a lot more, right?
We were doing 2 events a month.
Yeah.
Our first year. It was a lot.
And you were leveraging social media differently. Like, were you telling, like, what was it also like word of mouth messaging? Like, what do you think made the most difference in terms of getting that word out?
Definitely social. I think just showing people what it looked like to be at our events. Again, that visual of like, that person looks like me, that person does what I want to do or what I already do or want to do more of. I think there's so much power in representation. especially with some of these like self-care places that you go to. Like how many studios do you go to and like you don't see yourself represented? So I feel like we started with that really early on and it grew from there. We even had therapists telling people like, hey, just so you guys know, like I'm recommending my clients to go to your group because of this, I guess, loneliness epidemic that people talk about or other people just wanting to find community in a new city. That's what we were hearing.
So, Alexis, when did your move back to LA happen? And how would you say that's changed either, how you guys operate City Señoras or how you collaborate?
So the reason I moved back was because I was in a long distance relationship. So I moved back to LA. And then a few months later, we got engaged. So it's been amazing.
Your girl is engaged.
It's engaged. And so navigating how do we plan events in New York and LA has been a learning curve. I'm still trying to figure out how do we still like bring in that same like excitement that we do in New York to LA. But I mean, I'm still driven by the same things. Like I see other Latinas like me, we have so much like wellness resources, like green spaces that like I know we can like continue to utilize, but it's been tricky. It's like another long distance relationship. The time zones, planning.
Obviously, the time zone is an obstacle. And then this isn't like our full-time job, and work can be really labor intensive at certain times for either of us. So I think it's just being super mindful of each other's schedules and just trying to navigate both. But again, like we're still learning. It's fairly new, but it's exciting too because we receive messages from people wanting us to start in other cities as well. So this is a good stepping stone.
The other offerings, including some you just mentioned, right? The sound bath, hot yoga. How are you coming up with these offerings? How was different feedback communicated to you guys on what else folks were into?
I mean, we have an inquiry form, so we've received messages from folks reaching out through our website. We also have a newsletter. So at one point, we had a survey on our newsletter asking for feedback of what people were looking for, where they were located, so we can provide events in areas that people are close to, so we're not having everyone, commute. And that was extremely helpful to receive that information and that feedback from our community members. And we're also always welcome for Instagram messages as well. We definitely receive DMs, and we've had partnerships stem from some of those DMs as well.
Just adding to Jackie, like a lot of it is also co-created with our community members. So the last like walk that we did in Central Park, Eileen, who works at the coffee shop that we went to, she started this fundraiser to raise money that went back to immigrant communities in New York. And she reached out to us. She's been to other events and she was like, hey, my coffee shop is like doing this. Like I'm leading it. Like, do you guys want to do something here? And we're like, that's perfect. Also Latino owned, by the way, which is like what we look for. We've had, other people just say like, hey, I have my friend owns a yoga studio in, where is it? It was the Bronx, Jackie?
Yes, it was my friend has a hot yoga studio in the Bronx. So we're able to do a hot yoga class, which was really exciting because so many of our members never participated or hadn't taken a hot yoga class because they didn't ever see themselves in those classes or ever marketed as an audience for those classes. So it was like their first time with the community that they already knew. So that was really, really great to experience, and supporting a Dominican Latina owned studio, which is what we want to do.
Yeah, so can you speak more about that? I think often like there's certain misconceptions about what like your Señora moments or like Señora era looks like. And I love you guys expanding on that.
Yeah. So when we were like coming up with this, like in like the kitchen, where like there were definitely some names that came up more like, I think that skews like to like after our generation, because we definitely wanted to speak to like slowing down, but still being like a city first gen, like you're the first in your family to like have this like big girl job experience, but still wanting to focus on that self-care. So we're like, oh, City Señoras, like that's what we think is communicating that.
And these events, when they're not something like yoga or an active activity like that, when it is like a walk together or like a picnic or some kind of gathering together, are they usually pretty structured? How do you think about those more open-ended activities?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's really important for us is that we are building the community with our people, not for them. So the idea is to sort of grow the community together. So we structure events with introductions, and then we'll have the activity for like 30 to 45 minutes. And then we like to leave some time afterwards for people to mix and mingle. So that's sort of the structure of our events. And Alexis does a really good job of creating situations where people will have to mix in their groups. So not everyone, sometimes people come with their friends, which is great, but we really want people to build community. So this is a way to really help everyone have that equal playing field and get to really know each other too.
Has all your work with City Señoras also changed the way you do self-care or you do any of these activities?
I would say for me, since moving back to New York, I've actually had like a change in like my friend group out here. Like there's been like some friend breakups, some friends like don't live here anymore. So I'm like, I need to do the same thing that I basically did in New York and like find some friends, you know? And what's made me hopeful and what kind of pushes me to do this, like I've already done that like with City Señora, so let me continue to put myself out there with other groups. Or like I'm less shy to like just bring up like a conversation with like a stranger because like I've met so many already. Coming out here, I'm like, I need to get out of my comfort zone. And I know how to do that a lot better now. And that's like thanks to City Señoras.
Love that. And what advice would you give to others who aren't in LA or in New York and are also just trying to find their people maybe in a big city?
What's really helpful is if you do come across community groups like City Señoras, you're going to find other people in the same position that might not know someone. And the first step is getting yourself at the event so you are already there,
Mm-hmm.
and someone else is in that same vulnerable position. And so it's okay to put yourself out there. That's how conversations and that's how these relationships start. Not everyone is going to be there with their entire friend group rolling up. So
More often than not, people are going like solo, which is amazing. We're always like, you know what, you're already doing like
yeah.
the thing. I asked a friend, she's moved to like a bunch of cities, like in all of her 20s and now like early 30s. And I was just like, how do you make friends in so many different cities? And she was like, I just yap. She was like, I just start up a conversation and then I make sure to like ask them to like a plan after. And I feel like when people come to our events, like a great way to continue that conversation that you had with your walking buddy or someone that you met is make like a second like plan, because then that'll continue that relationship. You'll at least, you know, go to a new place with them and like that's a new like experience as well. But go to these events, yes, and challenge yourself to make a second plan after. Because the part of Seis Señoras is we can facilitate all of these amazing things, but it's really on the individual to own what does that look like for me outside of this, which is another reason why we don't, well, right now don't have an online community, because we're like, we want you to own that in-person, one-on-one, getting out of your comfort zone-ness of like just being a human, just like living life. Is like, you can't just be online, get out there, get uncomfortable. If it doesn't go anywhere, that's okay, but at least you tried.
Yeah, when I'm thinking about you guys doing all this brainstorming and planning and, communicating and kind of, and then in the moment at these in-person events, kind of doing some of this facilitation work around connection, this is also mental labor for you guys. And a lot of what the content you guys put out and the messaging you put out is also around self-care. So how do you navigate like doing this, mental labor and also self-care?
Still a learning process.
Yeah, I think so. Like we told you, like when our first year, it was like two events for a whole year. And the second year, we're like, I think we can only do one. Like, let's just roll it back to one.
Per month.
Because of that, yeah, one per month, because of that check-in that we did with ourselves and we were honest, which is like really great to have in like a co-founder partner relationship, is like, I think that was a lot.
Some people think bigger is better, and that's not necessarily the case. And I think that was what we came to the realization too.
How did you realize that?
Yeah, I think it was like checking with ourselves, because like we were looking at our calendars and like we were not having time for ourselves as individuals. I feel like I have like a pretty good barometer of like some things like out of alignment. And I was just like, I feel like I'm not even like pouring into myself to then be able to pour into City Señoras or others. And so that was something that we did. Something that we also do is December, we don't do any events. And that's always been a rule because I like to shut down for the holidays with work, with family, like where it's all family time. That's like, okay, we're going to chill. So that was like another thing that we did just for boundaries.
Yeah, if you could just speak about what's next for City Señoras and, any upcoming like events or, potential collaborations or approach you're excited about.
Alexis has a very exciting upcoming event in the LA area.
Yeah, so for LA for November, we are planning a 4-course Thanksgiving kind of themed dinner with Casa de Lola. It's a Puerto Rican, Dominican inspired brother sister duo. So all the dishes are basically like Caribbean inspired. And it's going to be centered around like the past, the present, and the future. Like, what are we thankful for the past? What are we thankful for the present? And like, how do we want to then take that into the future? And so it's going to be a really great event with them. And then again, December we're off. So stay tuned for January. We might do a poetry event. So stay tuned. And then Jackie?
In New York, we're really excited. We're partnering with Cayuga Shoes and Valente Rum for an event in November 16th. It's going to be a rum tasting and journaling session that we're really excited about. Valente Rum, the co-founder, she's Latina with Cuban and Colombian roots, and Cayuga Shoes, the founder, she is Mexican. So it's really exciting to work on this event with them. And then, of course, we'll be taking a break in December. And then in January, we're bringing back our vision board road mapping event at the end of the month, which is a great way to start the new year.
And is there any advice you would give to other folks who want to go beyond their friend groups and maybe start larger gatherings that we didn't already talk about?
I would say get clear on like what your purpose is for the event and then like use that as your arrow, because maybe you'll be like, oh, we can do this or blah, 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 blah. But it's like, always bring it back to like, what was the core thing that you wanted? And like, listen to that when things start to feel like overwhelming as you plan like bigger and bigger things.
Yeah. And I would also say celebrate the small wins. I think that's the best way to sustain yourself in the long run.
So yeah, just doing a lightning round inspired by some of the self-care tips you guys have posted online of your Señora era. Journaling or meditation?
Meditation.
Energizing yourself, going for a walk or cleaning your space?
Cleaning my space.
Going for a walk.
Being a plant mama or socializing over a cafecito?
Socializing over cafecito.
Mm-hmm.
When you need to reset for the weekend, face mask and candles or wine night with your girls?
Face mask and candles.
When the city feels overwhelming, solo headphones walk or, a group chat venting session?
I mean, mostly to my poor coworkers. I'm pretty close with them, and it'll be a vigorous Teams chat, but also like blasting my music by myself, walking through through Central Park. I'm like by the park. The office is by the park, but yeah.
Yeah, a good vent sesh is nice.
Comfort food mood is a home cooked meal or is it like takeout on the couch?
Takeout on the couch.
I've been in my cooking era.
And then signs you're officially in your Señora era for you guys is Sunday farmers market or in bed before 10 p.m.
In bed before 10.
Yeah.
And where can folks find you guys and learn more about some of these fun events you mentioned?
Find us on Instagram and TikTok. We also have a newsletter, which is linked in our social media bios, as well as our website too. If you don't have social media, you're welcome to our website and sign up for the newsletter there.
If you'd like to learn more or join an upcoming event, visit cityseñoras.com or follow them on Instagram at cityseñoras. That's all for today. Thanks for supporting us as we do our best to support our community. We couldn't do it without you. For more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at epicenter-nyc.com.